Oh, and we get a big bang right out the start of the show. All right. Jeremy's got a lot of stuff going on in that household today. Hey, kids are gonna be kids, man. Oh, well, good morning, everyone. It's April 13th, and we are less than a week away from WrestleMania.
Yes,
We are
we
both a
are.
week away and less than a week away.
Correct. Because it's a double nighter.
And today, on this podcast, I am an Oompa Loompa with my orange head. I
Well,
don't know why I'm all orange. But anyways,
you
so
get a spotlight, See, this is what you should do. Give your son a job duty. Get one of the podcasting lights, the big circles, and just make him stand there and hold it for you to make you look beautiful during the whole podcast. There we go.
yeah.
That's a job
Well,
for him.
I'm sitting upstairs in my kitchen today, in my dining room today, because nobody but me and the boy are home. So um, the light outside is not very bright, so it's not giving me that quality light.
See, I covered up my glowing window of aura behind me because it was getting to be a bit much. But yeah, it's I don't know how it is in Pennsylvania right now, but it's sunny in good old North Kakalaki.
So
It's been really shitty weather here for the last week. At first it was cold and then it was cold and rainy. Um,
Jeremy's got his booger picker. Good
yeah,
job.
today it's overcast. It's not
yes,
raining, I don't think, but
Mm.
so my
yeah, I haven't been
son.
getting really nice spring weather. You should have seen Yankee Stadium the last 2 days. It was full of it's like if you actually went to one of those games, I salute you because you were tolerating that crap.
Ah, bad weather.
Yes, so my
Well, they called the
son.
game on Friday, and I think they played it mostly in rain. So because
Oh,
they're playing the
fun.
Giants, so they really can't reschedule because of the interleague.
Yes,
So
yes, interleague,
Mm.
interleague.
yeah,
So my son is playing baseball in the house with a bouncy ball, I believe. No, he says no.
that won't break any plates that are hanging on the wall.
Well, luckily we're not 90-year-old people with plates hanging on the wall.
I was just first thing that came to mind since my parents did. And they're not in their
Uh,
90s yet.
So
If
it's
they get to
it's the
their 90s, I'll
screen.
be surprised.
that's an old
It's
school
not
thing though,
about.
because my parents used to do that too with certain stuff. I get
Yes,
it.
it's not a bouncy ball. It is a squishy, somewhat soft ball. Anyways, so he's
Still
using
breaks
this as
stuff.
his indoor bat, and this slipped out of his hands and flew against the wall. That was the big bang that we heard right in the beginning, was this smashing into the wall. So we're gonna stop from using this as a bat anymore.
I mean, you could have got the finger stuck in the wall, dude. Like, what are you doing? It would have been damaged. It would have been no bueno after that. Oh, it's all good. Kids. Mine just locks him, 'cause it keeps himself cooped up in his bedroom half the time anymore. So, talking to his friends, playing games, all that jazz. Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, when my son goes up to his room and plays with his friends, not that that's often, because normally they're down here playing video games in the living room. All of a sudden you hear thud on the ceiling. And I'm like, oh, I know what that was. Let's go upstairs. Doot, 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 doot. And you walk upstairs. I'm like, don't jump off the bed. Because he's got a, um, what do you call those? Not a trundle bed. Goodness gracious. His is raised. This is an elevated bed. So he's got like a tiny ladder that goes up to it. And
Oh, like a
so,
bunk. He has a bunk
yeah,
bed.
like a bunk bed, but without the bunk. It's just the top. So,
So underneath he has like other stuff like underneath it and whatnot. Like,
yeah,
okay,
he
okay.
stores big toys under there. Like all my old G.I. Joe toys are underneath his bed. Along with his tech deck stuff, all his cool skate park fingerboard stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Pat's wincing because he's like, "Ugh, that stuff is stupid." I
No,
agree,
I
Pat.
was getting like allergy related pain in my ear. So
Uh, but funny enough, and I don't maybe I said this on a previous podcast, but there are people that compete in fingerboard competitions.
Yes, I've seen those.
I'm like, and they call out their tricks. Like they got a whole skate park set up with like tech deck stuff, and they call out their tricks. They're like, I'm gonna do this, 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 and then they get a couple attempts to be able to complete it. I'm like, and these people are grown ass men, like not kids, like 20 to 30-year-olds. I'm like, all
You know,
right, try not
it's
to judge, but it's just kind of, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of weird that you're playing with tech decks at that age.
do
No
you
judgment
know?
here as far as like it's not whatever. Like I'm just trying to understand why you're still doing it.
Understandable. I was on Facebook the other day and someone had posted a air guitar competition.
Oh my god, I've
Legit air
I'm
guitar competition for money and everything. Yes, yes.
I'm pretty sure I've seen that before too. And I I try not to be judgmental because people could make judgments about me and the fact that I build Lego Star Wars. Um, but I don't know. I guess mine's as dorky as that stuff too. So
Yeah, it's kind of the same. There's a lot of different things out there that people do competition wise. It's interesting. Some might see it's, hey, this is cool stuff, and other people are like, what the fuck are you doing? This makes no sense to me, but it does to them.
Everybody's got their own hobbies. I just
Yeah,
yes,
they do.
sometimes you go,
100%.
I don't know why that is a hobby.
Yeah, but
yeah.
you'd be surprised how popular it can become. Hey, just for instance, I never really thought how big a pickleball would become. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because
Um,
of what that started off to be, like the initial premise of what pickleball was supposed to be, not the actual sport itself, but why people started playing that, because that started off as a people who loved tennis but were up there in age and couldn't move the entire area of a tennis court so they could still get physical activity. And then it got taken over by the younger generation. We're like, this is cool. I'm like, okay. And
dude,
now you can't step in the kitchen.
it's they've down here there are certain parks where they've had like renovations done to like the basketball courts and stuff and the tennis courts. And some that had tennis courts took the tennis courts completely out and just built multiple pickleball courts. And then some of them did it where they did, half tennis, half pickleball. But there's, they just built a new pickleball facility down here that it's opening up, I think, this coming week or at the beginning of May. And it's this big place. It was on the news, and I was like, oh my God, like they're getting serious down here with pickleball. This huge facility. They're gonna have tournaments there. There's already a professional pickleball league going on
Hmm.
right now. I watch it on ESPN shows it. I mean, when it's on ESPN, it has to be somewhat legit for the most part.
Was
So
it on ESPN or was it on ESPN 8, the Ocho?
no, no, it was like on ESPN too, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
and you know who else competes in that? Like I've seen it on some of these tournaments they have like Andre Agassi
yeah,
and Roger Federer, right? I think it was Roger
yeah.
Federer. They're competing in these in like a doubles. It's men and women's doubles. I'm like, they got these guys that retired from tennis. They got them to come back out and play and like promote this sport. I'm like, this
Pickleball.
is freaking nuts.
It is
And they're just as
crazy.
competitive as
Oh
ever
yeah.
with it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I find interesting is because I see so many of these damn things on TikTok, people get mad when you hit the ball at them. Evidently, like that's a courtesy thing that you're not supposed to hit the ball at somebody, and
Listen, bitch, if
you're
I'm
not
gonna get a
supposed to hit it to
point, if I'm gonna
like
win a point by hitting it at you, I'm fucking hitting it at you.
an evidently hard spikes or slams or something that are not like you're not supposed to hit it hard enough to dent the ball or something like that. Like that's another thing. Like there's really weird rules and courtesies
I've seen some
that go
hard
on. So if
hits though
anybody
on
out there,
TV though, so that's kind of weird.
so for our audience out there, if anybody knows anything about pickleball rules, because I have no idea what the pickleball rules are, except for I guess you can't step in the kitchen. Like there's a line in front of the net, like a small area in front of the net. I guess is the
Oh, I've seen
kitchen
that. Yeah, yeah.
that you cannot step in. Like you're not allowed to step in that area at all. Like so. Beyond that, I don't know any of the rules of pickleball. So if anybody knows the rules of pickleball, explain to me why, if it's a courtesy rule that you're not supposed to hit it at people, or if it's a real rule, or and the whole slamming, smashes. Like I
I
don't get
have
those.
I have a coworker, him and his wife play. So when I go to work this week and I see him, I'm going to ask him these questions now. They're like, so what's this I'm hearing about pickleball? And see what he has to say. Because now I'm curious. Definitely so.
Yeah,
I have yet to
evidently,
play it, but I mean it seems kind of fun, but I don't know.
trash talking is evidently not a nice thing to do during pickleball either.
You have
Like
Andre
you
Agassi playing? Okay.
get,
Right
like
on, brother.
it's just it's so goofy. Like they're like I don't know. Like it's I don't
Watch that
I
shit will
just
become a Olympic sport
oh yeah, I'm 100% sure it'll be an Olympic sport.
at some
I
point.
feel
It
like it
definitely
might have
will
been
be.
already. Was it already? No.
No, not yet.
No, they have major tournaments though where they go against people from other countries. Like
Yes.
I've seen that because they were hyping up this mom and daughter duo, and I say hyping up because they were talking about how good they were. The girl was like 16 or something like that, 15 or 16, and like this mom and daughter duo were just like killing it in the pickleball world.
Hey,
That's a weird statement that I thought I'd never say. Killing it in the pickleball world. I also never thought I'd see breakdancing in the Olympics and have to and eventually hear about this freaking that. I mean, I know this is
Ooh.
very old news, but that Australian woman that was looked like she was freaking having muscle spasms on the breakdancing floor. And
yeah,
evidently, she's officially the most recent news, and it's not even recent, is that she's given up breakdancing.
yes, she
And
has.
which for good reason, because breakdancing is not supposed to be interpretive dance.
Stay at your teaching job. You're doing a good job there. It's all good. It's all good.
Yeah,
Don't
because that's evidently one of the things that she's like, I wanted to make hip hop and this and combine it. And like, yeah, you made a joke of it, and that's not cool.
that's not what breakdancing is. Not even close.
And even Darth Paz
No,
was shaking his head
no
because he's like,
wados.
yeah, like, stop it.
I mean, I'm one of those people though who thinks that breakdancing being an Olympic event is dumb. So
I'm not disagreeing with you on
I,
that.
I, I, for
I
as
hate
for as
the
cool as it
Olympic
is,
sports that are based on judging, because there have been scandals about Olympic judging, as we know, and
yes, yes.
it's just
Oh,
like
so
while
figure
there's
skating's there up on your things of dumb sports, because
Mhm.
figure skating is a judged sport in the sense of it's
Well, I mean, I think it was in ice dancing, which is like, the cousin of figure skating, where that scandal of like what was it, the Salt Lake Olympics happened. But, it's like there's, I know there's certain guidelines, like, oh, you're supposed to deduct X points if they do this or that, but it's still based upon interpretation. And I just remember,
yes, subjective judging.
one of the figure skating events, because my mother watches figure skating, so when I was a kid, I would have to watch figure skating too. Because the Olympics, you watch the Olympics. There was the one year where I think it was 1992, where an American figure skater won the silver, and it was the Russian guy won the gold. And like when the scores came out for the American guy, because it was like close going into like the final round and everything, he had this one score which was so much lower than from everybody else, which I don't know if they said it cost him the gold or not. Like he may, like, even if if this judge had scored it where
Hmm.
everybody else did, he may still not have won. But it just like stuck out as like such a sore thumb. I remember they showed the judge on the camera, and she was like an older woman who had this look on her face like,
You Americans would never win
well, it
gold.
was, I don't know what it was, but it was just very much the look of, like, I have no idea if she knew she was on camera, but she very much had the look
Probably
on her
didn't.
face like, because I think people started to boo the score. I think she had the look on her face that was like, how dare I get questioned, kind of thing.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
but so
I
like
am
anything
always
where it's
right.
so it's like, yeah, it's like there's guidelines where you take away points or whatever, but anything where, again, it can still be open to like an individual judge's interpretation like that. So this goes for like figure skating and ice dancing. It also goes for gymnastics then too. It just it's a little bit lessened to me because there's not a clear winner. It's not like a race. It's not like a game. It's like there's it's not where there's no doubt about who the winner is. And yes, I know there can be bad officiating calls and other events too, but just anything where it's based solely on judging and judgments and everything, because obviously human beings are not perfect.
No, of
Um,
course.
so and you can make like an honest to God mistake, but it could still be an honest to God mistake that costs people dearly.
Yeah. No,
And I'm not
100%.
talking about, the kind of um things that like, cost somebody a fifth place medal in a swimming race, which they then use to go make a right wing grifting career out of.
Mm, very true. He's got to throw that in there. Boxing's the same way.
Well, it's because of the John Oliver did a segment,
Yes, I saw
not
that.
if not last week, the week before last, and it
I
Yeah.
just
did not
reminded
see
me
the
how
John Oliver segment, but I don't
it
watch
just reminded
those.
me how much I despise that woman. So
Yeah. I did
Stop
see that.
picking on RG, all right?
stop picking on who?
RG. You're
Who's
talking about
Archie?
Riley Gaines, right?
Yes, I did not know you were on such a familiar basis with her that you
Well, I
abbreviated her
was trying not
name.
to say her name as to I was trying not to say her name, so I was using her initials of RG.
Oh, that's funny.
Definitely not on a first name basis. And you know, I really politics and sports are two things that I really despise mixing together.
Yes, and
But
they've become much too much done
yes.
so.
And don't get me wrong,
Well,
I have my opinions about it. I'm not going to talk about it here, but I have my opinions about it, and they would not be the same opinions as some people out there, and they would be the same as some other people out there. But um, it's just I hate to hear it because everybody deserves to be able to play sports, but I don't think it's right what some people I feel are doing in order to be able to be competitive in their said sport. I think there is some tomfoolery going on in it, and then there's some non-tomfoolery going on in it. So that's as far as I'll go.
Well, as we all know, people will always look for a competitive advantage in various different ways. I mean, that's why we have, PEDs and every other damn thing. And
of
so,
course. Indeed.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, boxing is one of those other judgmental ones too, where, trying to judge rounds and what's the criteria, and it seems like that's always seemed to change every so many years, which makes no sense to me, but it is what it is. And it's why boxing's
yeah, boxing, you can at least, say, well, there can be an obvious decisive winner, though.
yeah, yes, but there's been a lot of times where what you see with your own eyes will tell you this person won, and then the judges will tell you that the other person won. And then you're kind of like, how did you come to that conclusion? How did you three say this person won when over 1 million people saw this fight and say that person won? So
Yeah.
it's the scoring system and the way they judge that is a little. It's always been not so much fun. To wait for the judges' announcements of what the scores are, because there's some fights where you're like, well, this one's going to become a shit show after we hear the scores of the judges. MMA is like that too. Sometimes not as bad, but boxing's been really bad in regards to like certain judges. And there's times it's like, well, how is this judge even still a fucking judge? Like, what's what's keeping them being certified as a judge to judge these high profile fights? Because clearly they can't do their job properly on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, and so speaking about boxing, I watched a movie I hadn't watched. Yeah, I'm surprised both of you again. Um, The Hurricane
You
with
watched the
Denzel
movie?
Washington. So I watched that movie recently because I was like, I swear I've seen this movie, but I was like, I don't know if I really have. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go back and watch it. And I realized that I probably saw bits and pieces of it, but I never saw the whole thing all the way through. So I watched it all the way through. And I'll tell you what, I'm not sure how accurate that movie is in regards to the telltale, the accuracy of his real life compared to what they put in the movie. But I'm sure there are very close similarities and stuff like that. But that kid, that young man at a very early age was railroaded by dirty cops that were super racist in Patterson, New Jersey, where I don't know how Patterson is now, but I've heard stories from people that live there. It's not much better than what it was portrayed in the story.
Yeah,
Once
Nope.
again, that could have changed now.
Patterson's always had a bad reputation.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's just crazy. And who knows if that cop really had a personal vendetta or if it was just the system that was rigged against him. But it sounds like, according to the story, that one cop had a vendetta just to say, well, you are black and you did this tiny little bad thing, and you are a menace to society for the rest of your life, no matter how good, no matter what you do, because you can't change. You're a terrible person, and that's kind of freaking crazy. But it was interesting. Like after they got it overturned, and you can see this in the movie. You could probably find articles and stuff about that. But after they got the judgment overturned, the state of New Jersey still went all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court to try and overturn the overturn to get him back in jail. I was like, that is nuts. Like, that is a vendetta. If you've ever seen one, a legal vendetta to put one person in jail
That's crazy.
because of possibly a cop that just did not like this person. At 11 years old, they made a determination that 11-year-old kid is going to be a menace to society for the rest of his life.
And that's and that just shows you like that's an interesting take on society back then. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And what certain ethnicities went through because of stuff like that,
Yeah.
because of the mindset of people.
Yes.
Yeah, and
To the U.S. Supreme Court's credit, at the time they declined to hear the case when the prosecutors were seeking to reinstate the conviction. So
oh yeah, because it was ridiculous. Like,
makes me wonder
when
if today's Supreme Court would have.
and it's just one of those things. Like, once again, accuracy of the story. How accurate was it to the real life tale? That happened. But according to the story, the movie, they suppressed and changed a lot of the evidence to show that this guy was never there, time frames in which the calls happened, to make it look like he was there so that they could say, yes, this is the guy. They didn't
Corruption
take
at its finest.
certain witness statements were not used. Like, they didn't even use those people. Um, because evidently the one witness saw the people very clearly, and they were two white guys that did it, not two black guys. Like, dismissed, like, wrong color guy, like, but unfortunately that person passed away before the trial, so they weren't going to use his witness statement anyways, but he passed away, so he couldn't even come out and tell the truth. The cop, one of the original investigating cops, resigned from the police force because they knew that he knew that they were trying to railroad that guy. Like, it's just like, and this kind of stuff happens now. You just don't hear about it. Like, it's so, the justice system, unfortunately, is so good at covering that kind of stuff up that they can still do it now, where they can suppress certain people's testimony and stuff like that, or not use certain witnesses. The good thing is that you have people that have very good hearts and will go out and reopen these cases and then dive into that stuff.
It just sucks that you have to go down that road to reopen stuff and have
For
to
sure.
go back and do this as someone's probably sitting in jail for something they didn't do. So
Yeah, absolutely. It should never happen. But yeah, it's just an interesting story. So I implore anybody, if you want to hear an interesting story about a person that tried to do better for themselves and still got railroaded, go watch The Hurricane with Denzel Washington. Good movie.
What's kind of crazy about the real Reuben Hurricane Carter is how often he fought.
Yeah, I think he fought like every when they showed the time frame, he only boxed for what, 2 years?
He fought 40 fights between September 22nd, 1961 and August 6th, 1966. So less than 5 years, he fought 40 fights.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that's how a
wow.
lot of those guys fought back then. Like, that was how you made your career. You had to fight in matches. Like, you couldn't fight one match for $10 million like some of these guys do now.
He fought 3 times in January 1966 in the span of 17 days.
Holy shit.
And in 3 different cities, in Chicago and Pittsburgh and in Honolulu.
Ooh, that's a travel.
That's insane to think about. I mean, again, that's another thing that I think is good. I mean, it's good that your boxers aren't fighting that often. It's like the same way, like, UFC fighters don't fight, every week, every month, whatever. You need to have time to rest and recuperate and everything. That's why I remember, kind of deviating a little here, but I remember when Colin Coward years ago was going on one of his anti-wrestling rants, talking about how many wrestlers die early and everything.
Hmm.
And it's like, yeah, he had legitimate points about how young some wrestlers die and everything.
Yeah.
But I remember when like he had like some caller who was trying to like debate with him, he started shutting down the person. I think he shut off the person, like he didn't let the person say anything else about like why doesn't it happen to UFC fighters or something like this. And like I was like wanting to like call in and say, Colin, go look to see how often UFC fighters fight. Maybe they fight 3, 4 times a year. I said WWE wrestlers are performing, which again, the outcomes are predetermined and blah blah blah. And they're working in a way to try to limit, damage, but they're still going out there and being physical and everything. They're doing that sometimes 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah.
Because this is
Yeah, the
still like the
physicality on the
traditional like
bodies, the
house
damage.
show model and everything, which is much lesser now. I'm like, that's your biggest reason why, you
Yeah.
know. Think about it again, just listen to anybody who was alive during the territory days. Listen to Cornette talk about when he's on one of his historical segments, excuse me, because he's done a couple things. I think throughout last year he was recapping his 1984, on a month by month basis, and I think he's doing it. I think he's done already recapping 1985. And that's when Midnight Express was working in Mid South. And if you ever saw what the Mid South wrestling territory footprint was, it was ridiculously huge. It was
Mhm.
Louisiana and Arkansas and Oklahoma. And it's like you're driving several hundred miles like every day to make the next town because
Yep.
that's the way it was. It was like, let alone cable TV, there wasn't even, there wasn't like regional TV. It's like, you could only get the channels as far as like, your station went. So, if you're living in Oklahoma City, you're not going to be able to see what's going on in Mid South when they're wrestling in New Orleans or Little Rock or whatever.
Hmm. And that's what
But
made it so intriguing to be able to go to those shows when they came to your town. It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
is my guy still the champion?
Yep. Pretty much.
yeah, you felt like again, you might be able to see like a weekly TV show, but you could turn in the weekly TV show next week and all of a sudden, oh, they're the tag team champions. How'd that happen? That's
Hmm.
why you had to like, if they were coming to your town, you really felt compelled to go see, and that's why I think they had attendance the way they did. And then obviously during the 80s things started changing, so
Yeah.
cable TV, Vince's expansion, all that fun shit.
Pay-per-view, things of that nature.
Yeah. I mean, Bill Watts technically was one of the smart ones. He recognized that everything had changed and got out while the getting was still somewhat good and, was able to
Yes.
actually, well, I'm just saying, like, he was able to sell his promotion
Yes.
and make some money off of it, though, of course, he, would come back in various roles with various companies. But he sold before the business could just collapse on top of him the way it
Oh
did
yeah.
to Vern Gagne or the way it did to the Von Erichs or, the
Yeah.
way it did to, uh, in a way, I guess you could even say Jim Crockett too, because the way he had to
Yeah.
sell out to Turner. So, um, yeah.
No, 100%. Different times, different eras. But it was fun stuff at that time.
Hmm.
100%.
Indeed.
Hmm.
Now, since well, let's go with Pat's for a moment before we move on.
Oh, I just, on my Facebook feed, I get ads and see ads for T Public quite often. And I just saw a shirt, three guys standing, kind of like two guys are kind of in the front, one guy slightly back with his arms on the guy's shoulders. Three guys wearing their college uniforms.
Uh-huh.
And this has to be a fake photo because there's no way I can't imagine they would have ever posed like this at any time. It's Magic, Jordan, and Bird,
Mm.
wearing Michigan State, North Carolina, and Indiana State uniforms.
Oh
Magic's kind
yeah.
of like looking back at Michael, like, while Bird and Jordan are looking straight forward. But it's like, obviously Jordan wasn't in the pros until '84. Bird and Magic had been in the pros for about 5 years by that point. So
That image might have been taken from something else that they did with their pro jerseys.
yeah, I mean, I don't
And they
Yeah, I
think they
feel
just
like
would
I've
have.
put
seen a picture of
college.
them standing together before.
I kind of don't think they would have actually posed for this because
Maybe
again,
the Olympic stuff that could have been something too. It depends on
well,
what
no, because they,
ages.
they they pretty much look the way they did when they were in college.
Okay, so
So
it's
that's
made
why
up.
I think it's
It's
like
AI. It's
somebody
a
just composited it.
it's AI generated,
Yeah. So
pretty much.
So there
I mean,
is a
like
picture.
it's kind of a cool sentiment, but it's like it just can't be real.
Yeah.
So there is a picture of Jordan in the back, Bird and Magic in the front, and Magic is doing that look back, but they're in their USA jerseys.
Ah, so yeah, it's
So they
AI. It's
did
got to be like
exactly what Joe
AI
was saying. They
generated then.
cropped in the or imaged in the college jerseys.
Well, it's not like I said, it's not just that they just like superimpose like their college jerseys on. It's that they also made them look the way they did when they were in
Oh
college.
yeah, I just found that video. Yeah, oh my God, whoever posted this did a terrible job because they made they, they
Uh-oh.
made they made Bird look a little heavy. Like, does Bird look a little heavier in the picture that you
I
have
think
there
so,
too?
yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, I'm not
it's
trying.
funny.
I'll look at it.
And they
Then
gave
it's
they tried to add hair to Magic, give him a little bit more of a fro.
Yeah,
oh Jesus.
his is a little poofier, and Jordan's hair even looks a little thicker because he was mostly shaved bald for most of his pro career, so definitely by the
Yeah,
time of the Olympics. So and the funny thing is,
that's
like
funny.
the next one on the ad is I'm seeing this right now is it's a NES cartridge parody, if you will, where it's an 8-bit photo of Trump, and it says everything's computer
Oh my God.
because of what he said when he was like in the Tesla there a few weeks ago. Everything's computer.
It even looks like they darkened Magic and Jordan's skin some in that photo.
Oh
I mean, it's
God.
possible they could have, yeah.
Oh God. I'll check it out at some point. That's
Yeah,
I'm
you
scared to I'm scared to look at it.
just search. All I did was search Bird Magic Jordan picture, and it came right
Uh,
up with
I'm
those
scared to look.
photos. It's funny. I do remember seeing the one with Jordan, Bird, and Magic, like the USA. That's
Olympic
why,
one. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, the
That
USA
was on the
Olympic.
cover of one of the like ESPN magazine or Sports
Yeah,
Illustrated or something shit like that.
I have the Beckett talking about aging myself a little bit here. Remember Beckett. You used to be able to buy those and then find out what the worth of your card was.
Yep.
Um, Beckett's now completely online. Like you can still do it, but you have to pay to have a subscription to Beckett to be able to
Yeah.
look up your card. I'm like,
They pay a
Well,
all right.
subscription to look on my card. So
I mean, it's the same as if, you had to buy the magazine,
Yeah,
so
but you could buy the magazine once every couple years and you'd be okay, not pay a monthly subscription. But anyways, regardless, I
well, I mean, you
have.
could pay for the subscription for 1 month, cancel it, then do it again a couple months later. I mean,
All right, dude.
I'm just saying.
um,
formalities,
my
guys.
goodness. Um, the only Beckett I've ever owned, and I wanted to own it because of what was it has the Team USA picture on it from the Olympics. Like that was the only Beckett. I was like, this is a cool Beckett because it's got Team USA on it. I was like, the dream team. So that was the only
Yeah,
Beckett that I ever owned.
I still have a couple of like I have a container in storage where I have like old magazines like that. I have a couple like Jordan cover Beckett's and some other magazines and things like that. Some special edition like ESPN News ones from the Olympics and Jordan stuff and some other things too. I try to keep them in as good a shape as I can.
Hmm.
In the same container with my Playboy magazine collection. Ha ha ha. In my special editions of that motherfucker. So
Why am I not surprised you have special editions?
you know what else funny?
Jenna Jameson first edition, dude.
Listen, I can say this. I don't know how many, there's probably thousands of people that have this too, but I do have every single Playboy edition that featured a WWE diva. I have them all.
Those were the days.
I have them all.
Yep, the '90s where every WWE diva became a.
Well, no, it was the 2000s, really.
Uh, uh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, Yeah, very early 2000s, super early 2000s.
And you know where I used to go to get to look for those special editions?
Spencer's.
Q Mart.
Kmart. Why am I not surprised by that? They had all
Q
weird
Mart.
people selling stuff there.
There was so there was two reasons why I always went to Q Mart. I'm sorry, three reasons. Let me just put it that way.
It's getting
Three
longer.
reasons. Four reasons, maybe no, three reasons. They had a place there that sold really good heroes, right? So I go there. I'll like go in there for that. Two, they had that video game store at the far left end, and they were one of the only places I was able to find Japanese video games because I had my PS1 modded, the old school modification where you had to put the chip in there and solder it and all that shit to play Japanese games. So they were the only places that actually received and you were able to purchase Japanese video games because I had a couple Dragon Ball Z video games and some other ones, some of the wrestling ones, and I still have that stuff all in storage, but I still have it. Um, so they had really cool like video games that you can get from overseas, specifically Japan. And the other reason is the magazine place. They had a magazine stand. It was kind of like it was weird. So the place sold magazines and newspapers, but they also had a section where they sold like commemorative magazines where you can buy, they would sell like old magazines from like collector's editions magazines for like different stuff like Sports Illustrated and all that jazz.
Mhm.
But in the back, they had an adult section, and I was like, and you had to be 18 to go in there. So when I was like doing the Playboy stuff, I was like, oh, what do they got back there? They had a lot. You wanted Hustler, they had Hustler. If you wanted Penthouse, they had some Penthouse. They had the magazines, and then I started finding the Playboy stuff, and I was like, oh shit. And I started finding, I was like, all right, here's my checklist of exclusive Playboy magazines I've wanted to get. And I pretty much got all of them, found all of them there. And
Yeah.
then the guy who worked there was like, he was like, you looking for something specific? And I was like, I pulled out a checklist. He's like, damn, okay, kid.
Like, this guy's a real perv. What's wrong with this guy?
I was like, yo, brother, some of these shits are worth money. So I'm like, yeah, I'm still looking for these three. He's like, okay, okay. He goes, I'll be on the lookout because I know guys who trade magazines and I get stuff, blah, 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 all that jazz. So I'd give him my number. And there's a couple times he called me up. He's like, hey, kid, I got that magazine. He goes, it's $10 or $15, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, man, I'll be there this weekend. I'll be there Sunday. And I'm
This guy,
driving to Q-Mart, getting
this
my
nudie magazine hookup guy.
special edition Playboy, baby.
um, that's
Hell
funny.
yeah.
He's
Hey,
like
listen,
Billy
I
Mad.
have,
He's like Billy Madison on that day. On that day, nudie magazine day. Nudie magazine day. Going to
and
Kmart.
the thing is like at one time, I would say at one time all of my magazines probably were worth close to like $7,000.
Mhm.
I don't think they're worth as much now for some of them
Yeah.
for whatever the reason is, if they dropped because of collection value of magazines, which I think they'd be more, their value should go up because magazines really aren't a thing. Like you can go to Barnes and Nobles and stuff like that, and they still have a shit ton of type of magazines. You can still do subscriptions for all that shit, but
Yeah.
it's just not as popular as it used to be. So
Well,
I
yeah.
think
You never
some,
hear about people like got my new Playboy. Like I
yeah,
never hear anybody say anything like that.
I think some of it too is some of the exclusive covers I have with certain females. They've had some interesting lives that might have devalued that magazine. Let's just put it that way. Um, but nonetheless, that was part of one of my and that was something I used to collect and I really never told anybody about back then.
Yeah.
Like only a couple people knew that I actually collected Playboy magazines. Not that I was I don't know, like embarrassed by it. I didn't give a shit, but it was just something like I just was in the collector's mode, and I'm like, this is a collector's thing, and these could be worth money.
Yeah. Did either of you have a 48 hours near you growing up?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
48 hours.
Probably.
I just found my old Blockbuster card the other day when I was cleaning out something.
So
Hold,
48
please.
hours, and I don't know if it was like this in every 48 hours, but the one by me, they had a backroom section.
Yeah, so did ours.
I
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was-
All
Um,
the hardcore pornographic videos.
yeah, I was like,
I'm pretty sure they did. I'm pretty sure
nice. I definitely don't have that anymore.
there
Bam!
there was another video chain around here for a while, West Coast Video. I'm pretty sure they had a
They did.
backroom section too. Blockbuster, of course, did not.
West
No.
Coast not all West Coast videos did. I think it was only certain select ones. I had a friend who worked there.
I think the
But
one
yeah,
that I frequented that was in Wing Gap did, but it's been so long I don't remember for sure.
yeah, it was just, I look back and now I never personally went back there, but I just, to
Oh, I
have
did.
the, to have the, the, the balls and courage to go back in that back room and then come out and
I think that was the biggest thing in regards to rooms like that. You saw the old men that are our age now and older going back there with like zero issues. Like, I'm going to get back some pornography. I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna watch
like,
these two chicks go at it. But us 18 and 21, we were like, oh shit, should we walk back there? Who's gonna see us? What if one of our friends
yeah,
walks in?
yeah, like I just, like, I could never bring myself, and even at this age, well, I mean, there's other avenues to get that if that's something you're into, but like if it was a public place, like to walk back there, walk out, and hand a video a clerk, like, yep, I'm about to watch this video, and you know what I'm gonna do with it. Like I could not. Like I literally could not. Like I would be mortified. Like that is a private matter, not something I want to put on public display to know that hey, this guy's doing this tonight all by
I'm
himself.
about to watch Debbie do all of Dallas, baby. That's what I'm about to see.
Like that's like I mean, don't get
uh
me wrong, if you do that, you do that. I'm not judging you by any means because I'm sure a lot of people do that or have done that in their past, but like I just that's a private matter. I'm keeping it private. If I do that, I do that. That's none of your business. Like I don't need to put it on public display.
yeah, I mean, or you can go to Condoms Galore, or you can go Adam and Eve, stuff like that too.
Oh my goodness, that was a big like in the Walnut when they decided to lease the storefront for Condoms Galore to go in there. Oh my goodness, that was a uproar in that community.
Was it really? I'm not
Yeah. Oh yeah.
surprised.
Oh yeah. You had a lot of people that are very religious in that area because that small town area, Walnut and Slatington and like that, they still have a lot of people that it's a very church. I don't want to say very. It's gotten changed over the years, but at that point in time, there was still a lot of people that were very, very religious and very active in their community as religious leaders.
Let me tell
And
you,
they
there was
were
some
like,
freakadeeks up there too, so don't
yeah,
get a
no,
little
there's that.
twisted.
Those people are all over the place too. Yeah, but yeah, they
For
made a
sure.
huge, like they really tried to keep that store out of owning that space, like renting that space in that little tiny strip mall area that's there on 145, like across from like the supermarket that's in there. I don't know how often you ever came up to the Walnut area, Joe or Pat, but yeah, it's I
Back
was
in the
like, dang,
day, on and off, yeah. More
but
frequently than most people, I would say. I had some friends that lived up there.
But they made a
Decent
huge
people, I
stink
should
of it and
say.
tried to essentially like go to the city council and be like, you cannot put this store here. It is, it's terrible. We can't have that kind of representation. I'm like,
You're letting the devil in. You're letting the devil into our community.
yeah. So I mean, it was. I've I think I've
Maybe if you
only
knew your
gone into.
community a little bit better, you would see how many devilish people were in your community. I
Though
frequent
some of those
some
people you go to
very,
church with, not so
yeah,
churchy.
yeah. I knew some people back in the day, and I used to go party up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, Not so not I wouldn't say these would be someone you would think would be going to church on a Sunday afternoon or a Sunday morning. Yeah, yeah, not
Yeah.
these people.
Yeah.
Not
It's
what we're drinking and what the shit I've seen people
yeah.
doing. So yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
I've
yeah,
only been into
yeah.
I think I've only been into like one or two Condoms Galore. I was into the one when they first opened it. I mean, as you're talking about probably 20 years ago now that store opened. But I know I went into that one time. They're interesting stores. Like those are stores like It's just like, huh, that's a that's very big, that thing on the wall.
Yeah, they sell a lot of interesting stuff. Like I used to like there was the one up in Allentown off of see I'm trying to I don't remember. I don't live
Oh
up
man,
there
the
any.
one in Allentown, that's the original OG one.
Yeah,
That one was
yeah,
off of Front Street,
yeah. I see, and it's hard.
right
I
by Grape
try.
Street, where Grape Street and Front Street like meet. It's like two things
Yeah,
down from that one. It's still there too.
yep. That's good. And there was one in I just forget all the names of the streets because I don't live there anymore. The other one was off. There was one on there used to be one on 191 in Bethlehem where the Josh
Mm,
Early candy store, if it's that there anymore, I doubt it.
I
Where
think the
that
Josh Early's
is,
still there.
there's a strip mall behind there. There used to be an adult store. I don't know if those kind of school or, but there was an adult store back there, and they had some crazy shit in that fucking place.
there used to
That
Um,
be.
pretty sure
Go
that
ahead.
strip mall's gone. I think the
okay.
Josh Early's still there, but I'm pretty sure that. Well, no, actually, no. If no, the strip mall is still there. I just don't know what's still there because I don't really go over there. They just built like a Wawa there, so
Yes,
Hmm.
I,
Okay.
that wall was one of the big ones, one of the big areas that they put a
yeah, it's still
very
Gotcha.
not
large Walmart.
the
Um,
best location though.
yeah.
And just in terms of like what the because at that intersection 191 and I can't remember what the other road is, but if you stay on that road, it'll take you eventually past Northampton Community College.
Yes.
Yes.
Um,
I forget the name of that road too. I used to
like
drive
they
that all the
widened
time.
it somewhat and everything, but again, I just have to imagine during busy times the traffic is probably a little shitty. So
Did they get rid of the Dunkin' Donuts then that was right there to put the Wawa?
no, I think the
No, the
Dunkin's
Dunkin's
still
still
there.
there. Yeah, Dunkin's still there.
Okay.
It's interesting. Like we went
I'm
over
confused to
to
where the Wawa is then. I'd have to look on Google Maps.
the
Um,
family.
there used to be like a used bookstore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that building's gone.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, my family and I, we went over um, to watch the Colonial League Championship, and it was over at Freedom High School.
Okay.
I had no idea where Freedom High School was. I lived in this area for
You had no
forever.
idea where freedom
I,
was?
I had no idea where Freedom was. I knew it was in Bethlehem. Like I knew that. I knew where Liberty was. Like
All you gotta
Liberty's
do is
in
go down
the city of
William Penn
Bethlehem.
Highway, and make a left. Well, if you're coming from Allentown, William Penn Highway, make a left. Yeah, but you're coming from the highway,
But
so different. But
we
yeah,
came from we went down 191 because of where we were coming from. It was quicker to go down
yeah,
191.
yeah.
And
Then make a left at that Dunkin' Donuts, and it'll take you right to freedom.
yeah, we made yeah, I was like this school is like in the middle of this development area. I was
It
like
is.
I never realized that. And it's funny because one
Votech's
of the
right
girls
next to
that
it.
yeah, one of the girls that my daughter used to cheer with actually lives like two streets down from the high school and middle school that's right there. And then my
Yep,
daughter's
East
like
Hills.
when we pulled into the parking lot, she's like, "See that building over there?" So I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "That's where we're going to be going." Like she toured the Bethlehem area technical school.
Oh,
I was
okay.
because I forgot I didn't even realize that that was back there too. Like that's right in Freedom's like essentially in Freedom's campus, so to say, but up
Yeah,
a little bit
yeah.
because I
It
thought that's where
was.
we were walking to go to the game. I'm like, damn, this parking lot sucks.
Yeah, you have a middle school, a high school, and you have the Votech school right there.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, but I knew where Liberty was. So I knew Liberty was in the city, like right in the heart of Bethlehem City, but I didn't
Yeah,
realize
yeah,
Freedom was where it was because it's they're like with Allentown and geez, it was like with Allentown they have Deerfield and they have Allen, and those schools you always if you live in the area you always know where those schools are because they talk
yeah,
about them all the time, and they're both in terrible locations within the city. Like they're both buried deep in the city, bad, just bad locations to
yeah. They
begin
are.
with. But yeah, with Liberty, like those, they could be they're completely polar opposite locations of like one's right in the city and then one's like outside of a development.
It's like a surrounded by houses. Miller Heights is the
Yeah.
same way. Miller Heights, the elementary school, it's the same thing. Like it's the school and they have this big field with playgrounds and baseball fields, but it's just surrounded by houses. It's kind of the same thing. It's the same concept. It's interesting.
And what is Miller High? Is that one of the elementary schools for
Elementary
Bethlehem?
schools. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's one thing I
Yep.
don't. I don't know any of the names of the elementary schools for Bethlehem area. I know the one middle school because that's right off of 378 there, freaking Nitchman or Nietzschman.
Nishman, yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah.
And Northeast is the
Plus,
other one.
we coach
Northeast
against
is
the
the one that's
KVLCY from there.
yeah. Northeast is the one that Marlin lives by. That's the other one that's
Yes.
by uh technically Bethlehem. Yeah, Bethlehem down the
Nor-
road from Liberty.
Northeast was where my sister and I were the Boys and Girls Club for 2 summers in the early 90s. And I've never remembered like exactly where it is because I never drove there, obviously. So it's like if I don't go there myself, like if I'm not driving, like I have no sense of direction. And well, no, the funny thing is, I finally figured out more or less where it is again and how close it is to where I live right now. In a
It's not
different,
that far.
no, it's not. But it's like the way I figured it out finally, because the way we would go to it is since we lived up in Belfast, so we go down 33, get on 22 West, and we get off at 191. Then we go down 191 to I think it was like Linden Street. We turn there, and then it was like a couple roads. But then, like, I'm trying to remember how we went to the pool every day because we would go to the old Saucon pool, which unfortunately doesn't open anymore. And I finally realized that the way that we went there was we come out and we hit up basically where Freemansburg Avenue is, where essentially
Okay.
it's like the intersection with Freemansburg Avenue and Stefco Boulevard. And you turn right and go over the Mincy Trail Bridge. I finally kind of put that all together when I was like, one day I had to get off 78 at 412 and then go up to the Mincy Trail Bridge because I was like deviating somewhere else, on my way home.
Hmm.
And it kind of occurred to me that, oh yeah, that's the way we went. So it was kind of funny to realize that. I also live very near, was it Farmersville Elementary School? That's like just up the road, as you
Yeah.
well know, and that's where I've gone to vote the last couple times since I've lived here. Um, there was a really funny story. Well, it's not really funny, I guess, but
Jeremy's laughing, so it's funny to him. He doesn't even know what it is yet.
My my
There-
I was like, what
son.
does his son do?
So ID10T. Do you know what an ID10T error is? If you spell it out, can you read that?
Idiot.
Yeah, ID10T.
These kids.
It's like you little. As I got to the O or the zero, I was like, you little turkey.
reminds me of the one joke from I think it was a deleted scene from Austin Powers 3. Hey, I got an anagram for you. I fit Iron Dick. No, freaking idiot. But
Oh
anyway,
man.
there was a story a week or two ago saying about how the principal of Hanover Elementary School, which is one
Yes.
from elementary school, was put on administrative leave, and they didn't
Oh
say
boy.
why. And then it just came
Yes.
out within the last week that apparently she's being charged with DUI.
Yes. She was having a afternoon cocktail. Evidently, one way too many cocktails because she was
Yeah, because
0.34.
I was gonna say,
Whoa.
it says that
Damn.
they said that she was 4 times the legal limit and she crashed into 3 parked cars. And this was late in March.
Yes. And when they interviewed her, she said she backed into the first one, got scared, and pulled forward and smashed into the other two. Like, what?
Spectacular.
Oh, okay, yeah. She's 46. I'm not gonna say her name, I'm not gonna embarrass her. I mean, you can find the story. Um, It happened on a Saturday afternoon at the end of March. Police responded to the parking lot of Valley Farm Market on Stefco Boulevard to find 4 damaged cars, including hers. Police later found her blood alcohol concentration to be 0.326%, which Jeremy said, which is more than 4 times the legal limit. The principal had already been on leave prior to this latest alleged incident, following concerns at a school bingo night earlier in March. Was she drinking then?
What was she? She causing an uproar at bingo night? What are you doing? Come on.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like you can make an excuse
Bingo's fun
that
and
if this
and
incident
safe.
happened on a Saturday that has nothing to do with the school. I mean, obviously, it's not a great look for the school, being that she is the principal, but it didn't happen on school hours, on school property, blah blah blah. But if she had something happen that did, they're talking about this bingo night, and again, it doesn't say; it just says there was an incident. It doesn't give any other indication as to what it was. But if somebody did suspect that she was intoxicated or something, then obviously it's not a great look, and they probably are doing the best thing by, you know,
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's going to end with her leaving the position one way or the other.
Unfortunately, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, indeed.
Speaking of
Yeah.
alcohol, I took, and I don't know if I mentioned this to you guys. Did I mention this to you guys? I'm trying to think. When did I take my son to see the movie? No, I took him on a Sunday. So,
Oh,
last, stop. Because I'm sure you guys can hear that massive clicking going on. Stop.
click, click, click.
Um, give me the pen. Give me the pen. Thank you.
It's an age where you just want to hang them
I have a
upside down
clicking
by their
problem.
toes
Yes.
and just let me know when you feel a little dizzy because the blood's rushing to your head.
But as I was about to say before we were rudely interrupted by the massive clicking, um, the lady that we went to see the Minecraft movie,
Yeah.
and I did not enjoy it. It's definitely super geared towards Minecraft players and young children, which is fine. I kind of expected that. I thought I might enjoy it because there are a lot of kids movies that I do enjoy. But there's two things that have come out of it. One was my experience watching the movie because the lady was very nice. She moved down, allowed us to be able to sit next to each other because originally when we got there, because people leave space in between them and the next person, which is sounds okay if the movie's not crowded, but that movie theater was crowded because we went to the Roxy, and Roxy now has like first day releases out now. They stopped doing like second hand releases. They started doing that day
Oh, okay.
like first releases instead of doing it as second releases. But so the movie theater was packed, and so she moved down, another person moved, so we could all sit together instead of having them in front of me and then I'm behind them in the next row, which I just thought was weird. But because I took my son and his friend, yeah, she smelled of alcohol, like of schnapps. I was like,
She's
"Whew."
the old school schnapps. She's rocking. I love it.
And
Kudos to her.
yeah, she smelled like
Clap it
schnapps,
up.
and she got up like 3 times during the movie. I don't know if she had to pee, if she needed to take a hit of her schnapps. There was one time she was messing with her book bag. I'm like, do you have a sippy cup in there of schnapps? Like, I'm like, what the heck is going on in here?
Oh,
What scared me though is she's like, yeah, this is my daughter up here, and she had a little bit of slurred speech going on. I'm like, oh, okay. And her daughter's about maybe a year or two older than my son, and I'm just like, please tell me that is just like a weird bubblegum flavor that smells like alcohol. Um, and if it is alcohol, please tell me you are not driving these kids home while you're intoxicated. Please
yeah,
tell me
it's
that's not happening
scary
because
shit, dude.
um, my wife's like, well, maybe they walk there. I'm like, I hope so, because that's scary. So yeah, yep. Everybody gets their drink on in certain times. Let's just hope that people continue to drink on their own time and not driving while they're drinking.
Hey, I've certain I know
Yes.
a lot of movie theaters have this now, but for the most part, a lot do. The movie theater we go to has a bar, so they have those special drinks for the specific movies, certain movies that come out. They make special drinks for them. I've tried some of them.
Yeah.
Some of them have been very bland, and some of them I don't know where these people learned how to mix drinks because it was so strong. I thought it was just drinking it straight from the bottle. It was like,
Where's the mixer?
we're just gonna give this to you straight and just add a pinch of mixture. Have fun with that. It looks blue, but it really doesn't taste the way it's supposed to.
That sounds like I don't know why this just triggered it, but the way you just described there was like a Robot Chicken sketch with I think it was Rainbow Bright.
I've never seen that one. I don't know if I'd want to see that one.
Doesn't she start puking rainbows in the middle of that? Like,
Well,
Excuse me.
I can't find it right now. I can't find it on YouTube or not the whole one anywhere. She like comes home and like the two guys have like broken into her house and are like there to like waylay her, but she comes home and she's like not in it. And she's like goes to like make a drink and she's like setting the drink up and everything. She's about to like pour something into the drink and then she just like shoves the glass off the counter and then just starts drinking straight from the bottle. It just reminded me of that for some reason. I have really no idea why.
Yeah.
Then she ends up killing the two guys, and then playing it off like they just that they left a note apologizing for all their misdeeds and we're going somewhere else. It was
Yeah,
also
it's
revealed that she had like a lot of the one type of things in like her freezers, like she was like eating them and stuff.
Jesus. Um, so my son wanted to let you guys know since we were talking about people doing not taking where the hell am I going with this? Not being cautious and adult like with their drinking. His bus driver last year got a DUI and was relieved of her duties as a bus driver. She was not drinking
Jesus.
on the job; it was on her own personal time, but it does affect your ability to drive a bus if you get a DUI. So they take that
Yeah,
away
that I
real
mean
quick.
that's a trust incident right there. I mean, you're responsible for school children, and it's like you're gonna want somebody who knows how to drive and doesn't have like vehicular a vehicular record. Let's just put it that way.
Well, yeah, in order to get a CDL, you have to have a completely clean driving record. You cannot have any DUIs or driving while under the influence
Yeah.
charges on you. Like that's a red flag, no CDL. So yeah, they automatically took her CDL license because you have to have a CDL in order to drive a bus.
We had when I was in high school, we had issues with our bus driver. We actually reported her. It wasn't because we thought she was drunk, it's because we just thought she drove too recklessly. That led to some unpleasantness, but
Yeah,
speaking
it
of
stunk
bad,
because he really liked that bus driver. Like that was our, and we really liked that bus driver. She was really good.
yeah.
Just
Speak
personal life
speak
got in the way.
Yeah, speaking of bad driving, um well, I don't know if you heard of LSU wide receiver Kyron Lacy, who was a prospect for the draft.
No.
He was in a crash back in December, which he was being charged with negligent homicide, felony hit and run death, and reckless operation of a vehicle because um, he recklessly passed multiple vehicles at a high rate of speed by crossing the center line and entering the northbound lane while in a designated no passing zone. As he was illegally passing the other vehicles, the driver of a northbound pickup truck abruptly braked and swerved to the right to avoid a head-on collision with the approaching Dodge. Traveling behind the pickup was a 2017 Kia Cadenza, whose driver swerved left to avoid the oncoming Dodge Charger. As the Kia took evasive action to avoid impact with the Dodge, it crossed the center line and collided head-on with a southbound 2017 Kia Sorento. And a 78-year-old man who was a passenger in the Sorento later died from injuries suffered in the crash. So, the wide receiver who caused this crash was apparently found dead in a hotel room last night.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So I'll be
That's
I'll be kind of interested. I have no idea if he was going to get drafted or anything. I mean, like something tells me that his legal issues would probably prevent any team from seriously drafting him. I don't know if he was considered a good draft prospect before the accident. Um, but I kind of will sort of be interested to see what they reveal as um, whatever led to his death, if it was like a drug overdose or if it was something else.
yeah, the autopsy. Wow. Wow.
I'd just be kind
Wow.
of very interested to hear that. It's like, yeah, I really hope it wasn't like somebody like went and like took revenge, say anything like that. Either way, just an end to a sad story, obviously.
100%. That's crazy. Wow. Oof.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, let's
Well,
ah,
I just only threw that in there because it like literally just came on my phone like a few minutes ago, and we were talking about bad driving. So
yeah, I mean it led into it,
So
so I get
many
it.
people.
I get it. Let's move into something that's gonna be happening on good old Saturday. We have
WrestleMania.
the we have the lineups for night one and night two of
Ugh.
WrestleMania.
we have what
I'm
we
gonna be honest. I'm
think
not really
are the
looking forward to
lineups.
WrestleMania this year.
Well, we have the matches, not
Yes, I mean it's still
I'm talking
possible
about
it's still
matches,
possible they could add a match or two on here because they still don't have a match for Randy Orton. But yeah, they did on
Maybe those
Friday night.
matches will spark a fire.
which I
They
think Randy Orton's match will be on night two because night two has only 6 matches listed right
yeah,
now.
right now it's 7 and 6 between nights
Do
one
we
and
really
two.
need to see Randy Orton in another match at WrestleMania? Nah, not
Yes,
really.
he's Randy Orton.
No, not really.
I mean,
Oh,
Oh, is that the reasoning?
Randy Orton, Kevin Owens was probably going to be a good match. So
yes, it would have been indeed. So here we go. Night one, of WrestleMania 41.
All right, I think one of our requirements for this WrestleMania podcast is we all have to dress up as a wrestler
No,
of our choosing.
no. Just
I
shut up,
knew.
right? Just shut up right now.
I want to see Pat dress up as the Undertaker. Why
Boo,
not?
Pat's no fun.
I want to see it, Patrick. I want to see you as the
No.
Undertaker
No.
with your
No,
urn
and
in
no
your
blackface allowed there,
hand.
Joe.
With the urn in your hand.
No.
Disappointed.
No, no. He's like, I'm not spending money on a stupid costume.
Well, it's either that or you gotta put on a blonde wig that has a receding hairline, brother.
Cover it all up in a bandana. I really have hair.
All
All
right, come
right,
on, come on,
get
come
on
on. I
with
gotta
it.
be off in 15 minutes.
Get on with it.
You started it.
I
Okay.
know.
All right. Night one. We got Jade Cargill versus Naomi. Yeah. We got Mr. Rey Mysterio versus Chad Gable, aka El Grande Americano.
What I'd be interested, the only thing that's really kind of interesting me about that match is to see if they do like take the mask off Gable in that match. It's like how long are they going to let this go? Yeah,
I know. Yes.
I
I
kind of
feel like
expect I kind of expect one way or the other Gable's going to win the match
this is a play. This is a rehash and a gimmick they've done already with Hogan and the American
in a different way. Yeah,
in a
but
different way,
it
but
is
it's same
it, it's
concept.
it's a thing where you're putting somebody under a mask and everybody knows who it is.
Yeah, pretty much. Yes. Then we have the World Tag Team Champions, the War Raiders versus the New Day. Eh. Then we have the poor build up for the WWE Women's Championship with Tiffy Time Stratton and against Charlotte Flair.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's the worst build up, Tiffany Charlotte or the Raw Women's title, as I'm still calling it. Just
Yeah, that could be a tie there. Next match is the United States Championship, LA Knight.
yeah.
Yeah. Versus Jacob Fatu. I'm interested in that match, to be honest, because I kind of want Jacob to win.
I think
Um,
Jacob will win.
then we have the match, which I think will start off the show. Is the World Heavyweight Championship match with Gunther against Jay Yeet Uso.
No yeet.
Yeet.
No yeet. He's not eating anymore after
I
Mania.
know. He's gone. Whatever. Whatever with that. But okay. And then the main event, the Tribal Chief versus CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. So those are night one matches, all
CM Punk
seven.
with Paul Heyman.
Yeah, with Paul Heyman.
Maybe he'll go from yeeting to skeeting, and then he'll just skeet.
Maybe he'll go from eating to cheating. Yeah.
Now, Jeremy, I told this to Joe last
Yeah.
week. I told this to Joe last week. This was after a guy online pointed it out. Jade versus Naomi is the first time there has been a singles women's match on WrestleMania that wasn't for a title since Tori Wilson and Candice Michelle competed in a Playboy pillow fight at WrestleMania 22, 19 years ago.
And the sad thing is,
in-
at that point in time in my life, I was excited for a match like that. Now I just
Yeah.
shake my head and roll my eyes at something so ridiculous.
Now, I
Times
mean,
have changed.
all I'll say is this: is that and again, I'm probably repeating stuff I said to Joe last week. It kind of makes sense that there haven't been women's singles matches that don't involve a title on WrestleMania, but it's also indicative as to why, if they're going to supposedly do another Women's Evolution only show later this year, that I'm really dreading it because I don't think they'll build it properly. Because obviously, they're either going to have to do just 5 matches like they do with some of these PLEs now that strictly involve all 5 current women's titles, or they're going to actually have to take time on television to build a decent feud between people who aren't competing for a title, which hasn't really been something they're really capable of doing, even on the men's side.
No.
In a lot of ways. They really struggle to build feuds that don't involve titles. Like the Punk Rollins Reigns stuff going on right now is an exception, but yeah. So anyway,
Yeah.
You said that's night one.
Yes, and I fully expect, in my opinion, for the Jade Naomi match, that match should not go any longer than 5, 6 minutes.
I
That
expected it to be
match,
a quicker match, but I mean, it's like, hey, now we'll Jade.
that
This is your sink or swim time, really.
like this is a match built for Jade's revenge. It should really be as much of a squash match as possible.
Problem is she's dominated the lead up to it as much as they want to try to make us believe that Naomi's dangerous, this whole like, proceed with caution.
Yeah, it's hard to believe with her
I'm
gimmick the
not
way
I'm
it's
not
been
I'm
for all
not
these
I'm not
years.
I'm not buying that. And it's not because of what she has been, it's because when she cut that like pre-tape promo where she's got like the caution stuff all over as if she's like Owen Hart 1998 here again.
Yeah,
I am not
I'm
ready.
just not buying it from her. I'm just not.
You're not menacing, lady.
yeah,
No,
it's
she's as menacing as Marina Shafir is.
Yeah.
God. Okay, all right, night
Hey,
two.
just real quick, I saw some. She had a singles match with some woman on an ROH taping.
Yes,
The clips of it I saw again, terrible. She was just Moxley. She was just no selling everything, and then she was like doing like a couple like
she has to sell the
slams.
gimmick.
She was doing like a couple slams, and she like once again the way that she almost killed Willow there in that tag match a few weeks ago. She like kind of like barely picked the woman up before slamming her back down. I don't know if that was like uncooperative or she just didn't lift her. And then she was like putting like the chokehold on her for like the submission. She's doing it in a way though where she's got her shoulders on the mat. It's like she should be counted down.
I
So she still just doesn't know what the fuck she's doing.
I, it's topic for another time in
Yep.
regards to that.
I just had to throw it in there because I saw it yesterday and I was
Yeah.
like, oh my God.
Oh, I'm gonna throw this in real quick. You had posted in the chat about uh Neville Neville being injured by that move, which
Uh-huh.
that move needs to stop because too many people have been injured by it. But anyhow,
Neville's a bit on the injury prone side, it seems. I mean, I know it's not his
s-
fault,
still though,
but
that
yeah.
move not done right is gonna do what you happen. But has anybody talked about Hook, you know,
Puking in the
puking
ring?
puking in the ring? And
Evidently,
then
that was he can do that on command.
I don't want to hear that shit.
I don't either.
Why would you want to puke in the ring? Like there was nothing, no move done to him beforehand that would make you want to that would cause him to puke, want someone to puke in the ring like that.
Yeah. I
If they
just
were going for some stupid effect, that was dumb.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why you would want to sell that. I really
Yeah, that makes no sense to me. Okay, so night two, AJ Styles versus Logan Paul.
be very interested to see how that plays out. I mean, I expect
Correct.
Logan Paul to win. It's just I'm curious to see how good of a match they'll have.
Uh, yeah. Then we
You can
have the
have a good
whip.
one, it's
Oh, I expect it to be a good match. I'm not sure if I'm gonna like the outcome. Next,
yeah, I don't like Logan Paul winning, but yeah.
women's tag team championships, Liv Morgan and Raquel versus Lyra, Valkyrie, and Bailey. That is going to be an interesting match for me. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing that match.
I'm still wondering, based upon what happened at the end of their Intercontinental title match on Monday, if they're gonna do a swerve here, Bailey's gonna turn on her or something like that.
It could be. It could be.
You could. I don't know.
Then,
I don't know if you need Bailey as a heel right now, though. So
you really don't. Then the match I think that has a stipulation, which I don't know what it is. The only match that has a stipulation on the WrestleMania card in whole is the Sin City Street Fight between Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre.
yes, it's a Sin City street fight, and of course, how does that differ from any other type of street fight? Who the
Nothing.
fuck knows?
None. It's all the same shit, just different names. Then we
Now it'd be
have
cool
the
if they do some kind of artistic thing where they make it look like Sin City. They project the match over TV in black and white.
Well, well, no, it's Sin City because it's Las Vegas, not that
I
Sin City. I know
I
what you're getting at.
know, but
it
it
would
would
be
be much
cool though.
cooler.
I'm about saying
Well,
it would
one
be
of
kind
the
of cool.
one of the two wrestling channels that I follow on YouTube, I don't remember who it was, Cultaholic or What Culture, said something about, oh, maybe they'll have like props around the ring of like blackjack tables or roulette wheels or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know if that's needed, but I could see why they would do that. But it's like
Yeah.
I kind of hate it's like, okay, you're saying it's a street fight. I don't think you need to have props ready to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you really don't. It's just a street fight, man. All right, then we have the match I looking forward to on night 2 is the Intercontinental Championship Fatal 4-Way between Bron Breakker, Penta, Finn Balor, and Dirty Dom Mysterio.
Did you see Carlito's tweet?
No.
Carlito, if you didn't see Raw on Monday night, Braun speared the
Speared the
shit
shit out
out of
of him.
Carlito. And it was great the way they had it because you didn't see Braun coming. All of a sudden, you just see him literally leap into the screen and just destroy Carlito. Carlito tweeted something out saying about like his funeral services are going to be held like tomorrow or something like that.
That's hilarious.
Yeah,
Kudos to
so
him with that tweet.
I
Poor
gotta love
Carlito
Carlito
is
just
a
totally playing
jobber.
along with it.
Then we have the Women's World Championship triple threat of Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair. Yeah. Then we have
That's the one match on the card that I really have no clue who's going to win. Like I don't have a strong feeling one way or the other,
either do I.
or the other.
Either do I. Then we have the undisputed WWE Championship match between Cody Rhodes and John Cena.
And of course, the big question about that match is, will Dwayne be there?
Here's another question of that match. Will Jey Uso show up?
Why would Jey Uso show up in that match?
Oh, think about that one. I say Jey Uso's going to show up. This is my theory. You know how The Rock's been doing the 3-2-1 of the cut stuff, the cutthroat?
Yeah.
So the other thing too is he always says and this is just I saw a couple fans put this together and it makes me think because The Rock is always like said he's a step ahead of everybody, right? So he did the 3, I forget when he did that, but then he did like the 2 with John Cena, and I just feel like there's a connection, and I could be wrong. You know, Jey Uso showed up with Travis Scott. Travis Scott's his friend. Travis Scott shows up with The Rock for the heel turn of John Cena. Jey Uso was the what was he in the Royal Rumble? The 20th person who entered the Rumble. And Rock always says he's 20 steps ahead of everybody. The other aspect is now Jey Uso is getting, doing this more darker theme thing to try to beat Gunther because his old school self back. And if that match is first, who's to say that like there's not another big story coming with The Rock and Cena and Jey Uso and whatever?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got to think about it like The Rock asked Cody for his soul because he wants a champion. So John Cena has sold his soul. Is John Cena going to win? And wouldn't it be interesting if Jay does win, and if John doesn't win, he still has a champion? Maybe I'm thinking outside the box too much. Maybe that's too much of
I
a
don't think
swerve.
WWE's that smart.
Well, I think they are. It's just the fact of them wanting to do something like that. I don't know. I mean, you got to think about it too. It's like, we went on this whole like sell the soul thing, but yet the moment John Cena lost the Royal Rumble, he does cut a heel promo in the media scrum. He does talk about I'm entering myself in the elimination chamber because it's best for business. Like he already started that aspect the minute he lost the Royal Rumble. So him going heel is a big kudos to them for having him do the heel turn. That's balls to do that, but kind of like threw hints out there after he lost the Rumble that's kind of seemed to be where things were going.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also a weird, like if you go back and watch, people are like watching the reactions between Seth and Cena when like one of them does something to the other and pushes them or whatever the case may be. Some people think there's an outside chance that like Seth Rollins could turn and become part of like, join up with The Rock. I doubt it, but It's
I
one
mean,
of those things.
yeah, I mean, I can see something like that because I mean, Rollins has still been the most heelish person in the triple threat.
Because like they did something and they John Cena pushed Rollins. He's like, oh, this is how we're doing this, and there was some interaction with Punk, and then he curb stomps Punk, and then Cena's quick to hop on that shit to get the pin for the win. You know what I mean? So there's just stuff. It's one of those things, like I mentioned before. WWE has done a very good job of giving us side stories and side segments to throw breadcrumbs out to us to make us think that something could be happening. It may or may not happen, but they've done a good job of like throwing those ideas out to us and making us think. Because I've been seeing a lot more, I'm gonna say a lot more of people out there posting videos thinking, oh my God, do you remember seeing this on this show and this happened on this show? Maybe this is going to happen at Mania. Da, da, da. There's a lot more of that going on than you normally see in the past couple years. So they've done a good job of legitimately throwing those breadcrumbs and dropping stuff, hints here and there of what could be, might be, should be, not going to happen type of thing. I might be going way too out, but hey, shit, you never know. It's
Well, I'm not picking up what they're putting down, so.
because it's kind of like it's one of those things like here's the thing, like, are we going to see Rock? What's the Rock's involvement? Is Cena really going to win? What's going on with that? Is Jay really going to win the beat Gunther? How's that going to play out? Who's going to win the triple threat between Punk, Rollins, and Roman? You know what I mean? Like, who needs to win that match? Who doesn't need to win that match? Who needs to take the pin? And what's the storyline for all three of them after that match? There's so much stuff that has to be, taken into account in regards to those matches because Roman's still part of the bloodline. You have his cousin with the board of directors, final boss stuff, trying to get a championship, you know. So, and then you have his cousin Jay fighting for a championship, and he's in a triple threat, and he's you know, might lose Paul Heyman permanently. I don't know what that's going either. So
Yeah, it's just you just hope that they have something planned for after. So
with
we'll see.
all three of those matches, to me, they all have a significant part of
Yeah.
where all their stories are going after Mania, because they
Well,
all intertwine to a certain extent.
what we'll have to see is whether or not they pull a trigger on stuff during WrestleMania or if they wait until the shows the week after. So,
Yes.
all right. Well, on that note, I gotta run.
Yes, you go
All right.
run. Run
Yes.
for the
So
hills.
I assume we'll be live casting next weekend, but I'll wait for you guys to give me the final say so on that. So,
Well, yeah.
WrestleMania, brother.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, all
Put on
right.
your
Until
best
next week,
costume.
everybody. Peace out.
Peace.
Pat's leaving us. I'm crying. Bye.
Oh, yes.
Listen, fans, it's a duos that you haven't seen in quite some time. These two people right here.
Gotta
Jeremy
love them,
has
brothers.
left me and Pat all by ourselves high and dry as a dynamic duo for a while. This is what happens. Pat
Yeah,
leaves
you
us.
know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm as I mentioned before you started going over the card, I'm not super excited for this WrestleMania just because
The
I guess
builds
the
haven't
biggest thing.
been great. There's
No,
only
they
a
haven't been
couple that have
great.
been good.
And I've been so consumed with other stuff, I have not really been paying attention to wrestling. The other, 2 weeks ago, I watched Monday Night Raw. I fell asleep during it. So, didn't make it past the Cody Rhodes, um, and Cena opening segment
Hmm.
because it was so long. Um,
Yeah, I get it.
so,
It's
I think
it's
that's part of my problem with my interest level. Like I know I'll probably enjoy portions of it because I still enjoy wrestling, but just my involvement and understanding in that. So don't be surprised if I ask a bunch of questions like, why are we seeing these two fight? What is the
I
purpose
mean,
of this?
it's one of the
This
things
match is
too, like
terrible.
if you look at all 13 matches, there's really only been okay, let me leave. Okay. So I'm just gonna go through the card. I'm gonna talk about the builds only, the builds for these
Right.
matches. Jade Naomi has been decent, not great. Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, Chad Gables, that's been decent. Um, War Raiders versus New Day, that just to me, there's nothing there. They're just tag teams battling, and this is the matchup we got. Tiffany versus Charlotte. This has been a bad build. Even with it kind of becoming personal and who's going off script and all that shit the last couple
Yeah.
weeks. The problem with this build was
The
this.
attack in the parking lot.
Yeah, I saw the video of that the next day. Here's the problem with this build. They kept Tiff in her feud with yeah, like brain fart of her name. Samoan girl. God.
Oh, Nia
Nia.
Jax.
Nia Jax. God. They kept her in her feud with Nia too long because they still had some stuff going on even after Rumble, I think, if I remember correctly. But nonetheless, that feud with Naomi lasted too long, and they didn't dive into the Charlotte stuff quick enough in a timely manner to make her and Charlotte's feud or her match, build up to that match more relevant. I think they kind of hot shotted it, or who cares? I even told AJ this the other day, and I'm like, here's the thing, like I just mentioned about them drawing the lines of realism and not realism, and is it a shoot, is it not a shoot, and all the like promos and the hints of this person can fight this person, all that jazz. Who the hell knows, that
Hmm.
backstage they were like, both girls, yo, make the shit personal, make it real, figure out a way to make this shit real. Take real shots at each other because the build has not been great. So let's hotshot this shit 2 weeks before WrestleMania to give it some momentum with the social media. 0-3 in their divorces. That's why Kaiser's in my DMs and then him posting stuff and blah 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 blah. How do you know this wasn't all creative? Like, let's hotshot this shit. You never know. Um, Sometimes it's hard for me to really buy into people going off script anymore. I think there's times you can really tell, and I think there's a lot of times you really don't know because they're very good at doing the fine line of realism and not being real by what they're saying.
I think the only person I ever believe going off a script is Punk
Yeah, I mean
because he's
he's
legit done it at
yeah,
times.
yeah. No, he definitely does. He definitely has for back in the day for legitimate reasons for the most part. Now it's just, him just in AEW, he definitely took shots at WWE because he was still pissed at him, which I get. So it's one of those things where like it's a different regime now, so things are different for him in WWE. But they're very good with drawing the fine line and realism. Um, LA Knight versus Jacob, decent, nothing great. The Gunther versus Jey Uso build up, they've done this build up seems to have taken had it took it's been going on for a while, the build
Hmm.
up to this. I'm just not sure how I feel about it. I feel sometimes it's been lackluster in
Right.
regards to that. Reigns, Punk, and Rollins has probably been the best buildup of any of these fucking matches between the three of them and their history and all that stuff between each other and their promos. AJ and Logan Paul, not much there, some stuff. Liv Morgan and Raquel versus Valkyrie and Bailey. That's just a gauntlet that kind of brought that together. The Priest Drew McIntyre stuff's been pretty decent. Not bad, not great, but it's been a decent build for them. The 44 way between Braun, Penta, Finn, and Dom. I don't know. It's kind of like a lot of different of course get stuck. A lot of different like stories kind of blending together. And then Penta
Can we
being the new guy.
can Penta stop doing this like every like 3 seconds in his
Uh,
match?
I know that annoys people. Sometimes it bothers me, but that's his legit stick. I mean, I get it. I definitely get it. Um, World Tag, the triple threat between Io, Rhea, and Bianca. That's one that's kind of been weird about how Rhea lost the title and then signs the contract and we're not doing this, but we're doing this. It's kind of interesting. And then the Cody and John Cena one. Unfortunately, that one's been lackluster because you one don't have The Rock on TV. Two, Cena came on TV what, twice? Once? Twice?
Twice.
Twice. Twice. Cut a huge promo. Cody comes out, cuts a small promo, and then they go at it again like 2 weeks later. Um, and now for the rest of the 2 weeks, we just have Cody cutting promos and no John Cena and still no Rock. So that's you're asking one man pretty much to carry a feud, a program, a build to a match at WrestleMania for the heavyweight championship.
Yeah.
You're pretty much asking one guy to do all the workload for the most part. Wow, one's not existent and the other one's there for half of it, or less than half. And that's not.
Yeah, no, it'll WrestleMania be what it'll be. Hopefully, it'll be better than anticipated. That's always the hope. We've had some
Yeah,
letdowns where it sounds like and seems like it's going to be a good WrestleMania, and then the matches are lackluster. Hopefully, this is the opposite of that. Um, but you know, it'll be what it'll be.
yeah. I mean, I hope so. There's definitely matches on I want to see. Curious to watch, and I kind of think that they're going to do something where Orton's going to have a match on night two, and it's going to be some mystery opponent. And some people think it's going to be Malachi Black. I kind of think it might be Rusev, honestly, because I've
Yeah, there's
heard
been talks. I've heard there's talks of him possibly coming back to WWE because
so.
I think he's not wrestling for AEW. I think his contract was
Oh,
terminated. He didn't renew
yeah,
it.
yeah. His contract's was done. Yep.
So it'll be interesting. I don't really care if Rusev comes back or not. I thought he got better as Nero over in AEW, but I think they screwed that up over at AEW and stopped putting him on TV and stopped letting him be whatever he was going to try and be. AEW, and not trying to shit on AEW because WWE's got its own problems, but I really feel like AEW does not do any kind of character building at all as far as like letting us get to see what these guys can actually be and do. Like they pretty much like this is who he is, and that's all they ever are. Like they don't ever expand upon like their character building and that. So
The other
like I
thing,
think what we've seen of Will Ospreay is what we're gonna get of Will Ospreay. Like he's never going to change his character. Uh, as far as like building and making it something more, changing it drastically to a heel turn or whatever it could be.
I think at some point he might do a full heel turn, but right now he's just riding the high of being the baby face because the fans are definitely behind him. They're all for him. I think the biggest thing too with AEW is, hell, I mentioned in the group chat, their men roster is huge.
So many wrestlers for no reason.
I mean, their men's roster, like Raw and SmackDown's men roster, is like almost is a little more than half of AEW.
Now, if they're including ROH in that overall roster, that would be one thing, but I don't
Uh,
know if they're including ROH.
no, what I pulled, that whole roster of those 120 some guys, and I still even add the two new guys from New Japan on there. So that's 123 men's, and that includes guys from ROH. But with that even being said, like the men's roster on ROH still is like a fourth of that roster, to be honest. Some of those guys are enhancement talents. They have so many guys on that roster that are just not being used. And then you look at the roster and you see who the main people are on AEW Dynamite in Collision every week. And then you look at their ages, and then you look at all the other guys that are on their roster, and like, there's some good talent there. They're just not being used.
Well, yeah, they got away from the younger talent that they had and were trying to build and started subbing in WWE talent that is older. Same exact thing that they said they wouldn't do. We're not going to become the WCW and what they did. And you did, I don't want to say exactly, but you made similar moves that
Oh, there's
WCW
tons of
did.
similarities. And
You
they're
know,
bringing in the New Japan guys, which is, listen, the New Japan guys are I know them because I've religiously watched New Japan for well over almost 15 years now. So it's cool that they're coming to the US and getting name recognition. The problem is when they come over, no matter how big of a star they are in Japan, a lot of the Americans still don't know them. There's
Right.
like
I don't know
one-offs,
any of them.
there's one-offs, like there's a ton of people in America who know who Okada is. There's a ton of people in America who know who Will Ospreay is. There's not a ton of people in America who really know who Speedball Mike Bailey is. You know, so that's that's one of the things too. So there's not a lot of
And
storytelling or mention. There's not a lot of proper storytelling by the announcers when these guys come up. They make mentions of stuff, but then it's kind of like we said it and we don't go back to it. We said it and it's done.
yeah,
Um,
and tell me why did he do the crane kick in that match? One of his most
I
recent
thought it was
matches.
the at the pay-per-view, I thought that shit was hilarious. I'm not
Like
gonna lie, I was for it. That was
I'm like,
funny. That
it
was
was
funny.
funny because it's a homage to, the original Karate Kid movie, but I was just like, this is a little corny. Like, not gonna lie, a little corny.
I mean, yeah, but it's a fun corny compared to some of the other shit they do. Like it's one of those things where you have one-offs when it comes to some of the stars from the international scenes. So yeah, you can get away with getting those guys, but you even those guys. I'm not trying to say they're old, but
Mhm.
some of them are not young pups either. So you're gonna ride the high of their popularity and their skill set and their prime, but you still kind of like went away from your homegrown section, right? Like no offense, but like Adam Cole beat Daniel Garcia for the TNT Championship at the pay-per-view last weekend, right? I don't have a
Mhm.
really issue with that. I personally think Daniel Garcia could have kept the belt a little bit longer, but they gave it to Cole, which is fine. Like I said, no gripes with it. Um, Daniel Garcia, kind of a homegrown. MJF is kind of in a weird storyline with the Hurt Syndicate right now.
Right.
Um, I think Orange Cassidy's hurt. Darby Allin's is training to climb Mount Everest. Um, Jack
It's
Perry
cool.
has been
Just an
off of
odd thing to
TV.
stop wrestling for.
He's a crazy guy anyway. Um, you know, Jack Perry, as much as I'm not a big fan of his per se, um, you know, where has he really been? There's just they're doing a weird thing with face heel with the Acclaim that no more the Acclaim. They're kind of gone off on their own. There's just certain talents where I'm kind of not really sure. They kind of skipped the young talent for the more experienced veterans from New Japan and WWE to really push their programming right now.
Yeah.
Not saying it's all bad, don't get me wrong, but you're kind of falling into the trap of what other promotions had done in the past. WCW did it. They were way more successful at doing it than AEW has been, um, history-wise. And TNA did it as well. They had several years where it worked, but then those guys started getting to that echelon of a specific age where it was pushing their limits, and it really wasn't feasible to keep those WWE talents. You really needed to go back to your younger group, which they
Yeah.
didn't do soon enough. Hence why AJ left and Samoa Joe left and Bobby Roode left and James Storm left and all of them started fucking leaving, and they had to find new talent and recoup their roster and get back to where they are now. And it took them longer than it really should have, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Um, but I've always still watched TNA. There's a lot of talent from TNA that's from when they were trying to rebuild that are on WWE now, you
Yeah.
know,
Very
like
true.
LA Knight is one of them. Drew McIntyre revitalized his career in the indie scene and going to TNA. He's another one. There's a lot of people who have gone through TNA that have come back to WWE, and been successful. So
Indeed.
it's WrestleMania weekend will be like it always is. It'll be fun. I'm not gonna lie. I'll be watching all the matches. It's gonna be a wait and see what we get as far as outcomes and stories and all that jazz. So
Yeah,
it will be interesting,
indeed.
but nonetheless. But we can stop with wrestling now. I don't want to talk about wrestling all the time. Pat's not here either. I know he likes to go on and on and on. My neck's bothering me. Sorry, folks. I keep doing my neck things. My herniated discs are bothering me this morning. But yeah. Besides that, there was something else I wanted to bring up, and I just can't
Oh.
remember right now. I think it's because of my age. I'm getting old. I'll be 50 in 2 years and a month and a half. Yeah.
Three
So
days I 3 days I turn older. 3 days officially I turn older. My
uh,
birthday's coming up.
you'll be how old again? I turned 48 in May.
I will be 47.
Oof. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
40.
a joyous
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah, and it is. So I will say this. I on a completely different topic, something we never talk about, reading. Um,
Oh,
folks,
let's
read your books.
let's go.
Um, I have been gotten back into my habit of reading every day, which I thoroughly enjoy. I forgot how much I enjoyed it, and I put it off because I'm like, there's so many other things to do, and so I was like, I need to start reading again. I need to get back into it, and so I had started reading uh, Sum It Up, which is Pat Summitt's book prior to her passing away.
I have that book.
From
I have not read it. I have probably 12 books behind me that I have bought and have not read yet
Yeah.
that I need
So I
to.
started reading that a while ago, and now I've been reading it daily. Uh, and it is, you know, because I'm such a basketball person, like I enjoy reading books like this. Like I read John Wooden's one book, um, not a basketball guy, but I read Tony Dungy's book. Uh,
Hmm.
so he had a really good book out.
Coaches in
Um,
general.
yeah, I read John Calipari's book. I don't know if he has multiple books out, but and so reading this book, her life experience is so different. Like people, if you don't know anything about her, you would just say, "Oh, she was the Kentucky head coach forever," and she not Kentucky, sorry, Tennessee head coach forever, and yeah, she was. But
Hmm.
what led her to that is quite an impressive story. Like she was playing basketball in high school, and the way that women's basketball was played back then, they only played half court games.
Yeah, was it like 3-on-3?
I'd have to go back and double check.
Because I know there was a time where they
I
played like
think
3-on-3 half court or 4-on-4 half court.
yeah, it wasn't a full team. You didn't have five. I know it wasn't five people on the court at the same time for each team, but yeah, it was a half court game. Um, they did not have shorts and tops, like they were in full like dresses or pants. I I can't remember off the top of my head, just because that was like in the very beginning of the book. Like I'm like three-quarters of the way through that book now. I'm on her where she turns into a single mom as a coach, and that this is where like the chapter that I'm on is where she gets divorced from her husband.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I'm interested to see what happened, um, but she grew up on a farm. She was, very strong, because she did farm work and that was like her dad's big thing. Like they were dirt floor poor type of people from Tennessee. She went to college. She played, internationally. She was on the women's team. And she almost didn't make the second time that for the USA, she almost didn't make the second time because she had an injury. So she had to like work super hard to get herself back in physical condition and be able to go and make the second Olympic team that she was eligible for. Like, and she was also coaching the Lady Volunteers because she became head coach of the Lady Volunteers at age 20.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah. Like fresh out of college, like done with college, they offered her the job of the Lady Volunteers head coaching job. Like I was like, damn, like
Wow.
no proof that she could coach or anything like that. but the potential was there. And she finished up with that. She was training. She was finishing school. She was the Lady Volunteers coach. She was training to get back into the Olympic team. So she was like it was crazy. I'm just like,
That's a lot.
yeah, like people nowadays, and I'm just saying this in general, are like, I have so much going on, or like life is so hard. Try being put yourself in that setting of
Hmm.
doing all those things, as well as at that time in the US. Now you're talking, I think this would have been the 70s, 60s, 70s, and not having the respect even at a college level of what women's sports could be.
100%.
Like they had to fight to get women's sports to make it even a full court game like the men's. Like even
And
like
that makes zero sense to me, but it's the
so they had to
time.
fight that in the very beginning. Then she was on the committee, like she was an activist for down south area to make high school women's basketball a full court sport just like the men's. Like so she was a leading front of that. Like she has accomplished so much that most people in her lifetime, even though her lifetime was cut short because of dementia, she accomplished more in her short lifetime than most people will ever accomplish in their long lifetime. And
Yeah.
the amount of people that she had the honor to coach, and she says it multiple times, like it was an honor to coach them, and they made her a better person. And I think that's the one thing as a coach, like you always hope is like the people that you get to coach, like you're able to make an influence on them, and when they're able to make an impact on you and the way that you live your life and the way that you see things is like the greatest give back of coaching. Um, but yeah, like I didn't even realize there was a woman from that played at Central Catholic in late 80s, early 90s. No, early 90s. Um, Marciniak.
Hmm.
She played at Central Catholic and was like a stud athlete at Central Catholic.
Yep, she
And
was.
she played for Pat Summit at UT, and she won two national championships with Pat Summit.
I think so, yeah.
And as like, that's crazy. Like I didn't even know that happened. Like some of my basketball history in this area, especially if it was like when I was in high school, I don't know much about the basketball history.
Oh,
Like
okay. I
after high
gotcha.
school, like I know more about basketball history after because that's when I started paying attention in high school. I didn't care. But yeah, it's just crazy. And she recruited Marciniak in the middle of being pregnant. Like she flew on an airplane. She asked the doctor, "Will I be okay to fly on an airplane? This is when my due date is." She started having contractions at the interview at her home in Macungie.
I had a recruiting interview.
At a
Wow.
recruiting interview. She kept on leaving the room, coming back, and you'll read about this in the book. It's crazy. And then she called the doctor. Doctor said, "You need to get home or to a hospital now." And she refused to have the baby away from her husband. So she got back on the plane, flew back to Tennessee to have the baby at the hospital so her husband could be there. And like the impression that that made on Marciniak at that time made her want to go to UT and be coached by her.
I mean,
It,
you have a coach that's like this pregnant, willing to hop on a plane to fly out to see you to recruit you, and then goes through that and is like, yeah, that would make me want to, if I was her, that would make me want to go play for her too at Tennessee. Shit.
yeah. So and like,
That's an interesting story.
but yeah, and just like with John Calipari, like just the people that he's had the opportunity to influence and be a part of their lives for a short period of time. Like he did not like the fact that he was given the moniker of the one and done coach. Like
Hmm, I get
he
it.
embraced it at when it happened, but he does. I don't understand why he got that title because he was not the first coach to start having that. He was not the coach that like that all fell upon. Like he wasn't the only coach that had kids coming to their program being the one and done. I think what made it him get that label and have that moniker is because he had the high profile school that was happening at. Kentucky was the place where the program was always so good. It's the only sport that they have in their little area, like Kentucky. If if it's not basketball,
It's
in
yeah,
Kentucky during that,
Kentucky's
there's nothing. There's no pro sports teams. There's nothing. It is all about the college basketball team, and now evidently the football team's decent too. So
yeah, and their football team recently just started becoming good. So at that time, yeah, I can see it. Even Duke at that time, they would have like maybe one and done, where like Calipari was kind of like had multiple kids that were coming on as freshmen and being like one and done.
right,
So, he had like three kids going like as freshmen, then going into the draft and being drafted the next year. So I kind of get why he got stuck, unfortunately, with that moniker of the one and done.
yeah, but
Fair or
it
unfair as it
was
may be.
yeah, and it's just interesting. Like he, he would have sit downs with every kid at the end of the season and find out what they wanted to do, and then would give his suggestion on, I don't think you're ready, but if you think you're ready, I will do everything in my power to make you eligible. Well, not eligible, make you a viable candidate to go into the draft. He's like, but I personally would like to see you come back for another year. Like he would have those conversations, and ultimately, he left it up to that kid. It's your decision, and I will support you whatever your decision is, but this is what I think too. And then if they decided, he would do everything possible within his power to get scouts in front of him, in front of that kid, get pro workouts for that kid, everything that he could do to make sure that that kid had the best chance of going in the highest spot in the draft.
Yeah.
Like because he knew there are certain guys that are not going to pan out in the draft, or are not going to be good NBA players.
Yeah.
So why put them in that position? Give your opinion and hope that they listen to you. And some did, some didn't. You know, and it's interesting to hear how the kind of player that Anthony, because I didn't see Anthony Davis play at UK at Kentucky, but the kind of defensive menace that he was at
Hmm.
Kentucky,
He
and to
was.
know how he plays now, like he does not play in the NBA the way that he like the defensive end is just it's there in spurts, but it's not there like it was at Kentucky. Like he was like I don't want to say the defensive guy, but he was a defensive menace
Oh,
at
he's a
that time.
beast.
Like so it's just like
And that
it's
attributes you to the
interesting.
NBA play too. The NBA game has
Yeah.
changed so much where they don't need to do that shit.
Yeah. So it was interesting. Um like I say, with Tony Dungy reading his book, and like I said, his was about being a mentor, mentor, the mentor leader. Just a very interesting read. So anybody that's looking for book suggestions, and that those are just the books I've read in regards to coaching. I got Coach K's book that I'm going to read. I got two books from Coach K that I'm going to read. Those are my next two
Mm,
reads.
okay.
So interesting is, and I know if Pat or our friend AJ was on here, be like, I can't believe you're going to read that book. Ugh, Coach K, bleh. Like Duke, puke. Like I get it, but he's still a person, and he's still somebody that you can learn from, especially if you want to understand like the mind of a coach. And that's what I'm
Dude,
trying to educate myself more on.
100%. You still gotta listen, you hate those as a fan, you hate those coaches for a reason.
Yes.
And those reasons because that coach has been successful with a specific team or multiple teams for an extended period of years, and thus have beaten your team that you're a fan of multiple times as well. So, you get the hatred in multiple different aspects. But if they weren't a good coach, then they wouldn't be on your shitload of coaches you fucking hate because
Yes.
how good they were, how their teams were, how many times they beat your team. So as much as I get the fan aspect of it as a coach's aspect, you definitely want to pick the minds of as many great coaches as you can because you will ultimately always learn something.
Yeah. There's a
There's nothing you're not going to learn from a coach
yeah.
at any time.
I'm trying to think of, and I can't think of his name now right off the top of my head, even though he's like the most infamous coach right now in college basketball, the head coach for Kentucky. I don't know why I can't think of his damn name all of a sudden. Um,
The
it's
guy who
driving me.
plays Calipari.
No, at Connecticut. Sorry, at Connecticut. Did I say Kentucky? I meant
You said
Connecticut.
it's like,
Coach.
oh, Kentucky, UConn, Hurley.
Yes, Dan Hurley. Stan Hurley.
One
Yeah,
of the
Stan Hurley.
Hurleys. I forget
Yeah.
which one fucking Hurley.
I as I think there's confidence. And this is why I don't like this guy. Not to say he's not a really great coach, because evidently he's good at what he does, but
His
there's
dad's
confidence and then there's cockiness. And that guy is cocky.
he goes
He
above and beyond at times. He
like
definitely
he
does.
is like, I am the best. Like he's got that not swagger about him. He literally says, like, he will literally come out and say I'm the best. Like to me, that's arrogance and cockiness. And I get some people like that, some people are drawn to that, but as a coach, like I can sit here and say, I know
It's not
I'm a good
everybody's cup of
coach.
tea.
Right. I know I'm a good coach, but I will not come out in any way, shape, or form to say that I am better than every coach out there. Like I'm confident in my coaching ability, but I'm not cocky in it. The fact that like where Hurley, he's just like I'm the best. Like I'm like,
If
wow, dude,
there's
like really?
if there's any book to read, like I'd be interested to see if his dad has ever written a book because his dad's been one of the one of the greatest high school prep coaches in like all time.
Yes,
His
yeah. And
dad,
I didn't
his
realize that was his dad when I first saw it. I was like, because
yeah.
I Hurley, I always feel like when I hear it, like there's Bob Hurley, Dan Hurley, there's another Hurley. I don't know. There's a lot of Hurleys that are famous.
Yeah.
But yeah, his dad, like when I started watching, I thought he was I always thought his dad was a college coach, but I didn't realize, but he was a high school coach or a prep school coach. Like, I never realized he never made that jump to, at least as far as I know, he never made that jump to college.
I don't think so. He was always very successful in the high school prep area of New Jersey,
Yeah, Bob Hurley.
dirty Jersey.
Yeah, it's Bob. Yeah, Bob Hurley. So it must be Dan Hurley. That's the coach.
UConn, yeah, I think it's Dan Hurley.
Yeah, Dan Hurley. Yep. Children Dan Hurley. Yeah, it's Dan Hurley. That's UConn. Yeah, that's crazy. But evidently, there's talks about him. What the hell's what NBA team? Denver. Yes, Denver. There's talks of him. He's in
Mhm.
talks. Evidently, rumored that he's in talks with Denver to take over as the head coach in Denver. I was like, well, that's a good way to get out of college and and away from that craziness.
Yeah, that is my I I'm not sure. He's one of those college coaches where I wonder how his coaching style would be with NBA players.
Yeah, because there's some guys that can't do it. Who came to the NBA and like just flounder? I can't think of who it was. There's been a lot of coaches that came to
Because
the
some of
NBA, but
these NBA players, in the past 15 years, they just feel more privileged and they don't like to be coached hard. They'll take it in college because they know a lot of them know they have
yeah,
to make it to the NBA, but once they get there, they don't really want to be coached hard because they're making their money and this, that, and the next thing.
yeah,
Kind of a
because
blanket statement per se by me, but it's been seen a lot. So we'll just put it that way.
yeah, and he's one of those coaches that is definitely like from what I've seen is one of those coaches that is like in your face, like tough love type of coach,
Yeah, yeah,
which you don't see a lot of anymore in college. Like you
no,
do see, it is definitely more prevalent in college, but you don't feel like you see that kind of like Bobby Knight intimidation type coaching in college anymore. They're still
yeah,
tough on them because they have to be, but it's not visibly seeable,
yeah,
at least not in the sideline coaching, where he
yeah.
definitely lets it all hang out on the sideline coaching still.
No, no, he does. And like listen, it works for his style and everything. It's just sometimes it's hard to make that transition to the NBA when you still have that. You got to learn to adapt. And it's a different beast and it's hard. It's one of those things too where like for myself, like if you're a coach, but like, yeah, coaching the NBA would be great. But then there's kind of a point where you kind of see where the NBA is right now. And it's kind of like maybe the gig I have in college right now is a-okay. You know what I mean? Yeah, you got to deal with like recruiting, you got to deal with NIL shit, you got to deal with the transfer portal. And that's a pain in the ass, and that's a topic for another podcast because that the NIL and I don't blame the kids or the colleges for certain stuff that have happened, especially with the Tennessee quarterback that just recently happened in this past week. Um, but with that being said, I kind of feel like I'd rather deal with those issues than deal with some of the man-childs that we have in the NBA. Um, so I think I'd rather try to coach and teach and mentor the young kids to get ready for life and not have to do the same shit with NBA players when they really should have a little bit more of their shit together than they really do for the most part in those aspects. But I think I'd probably stay in the college.
Yeah.
I think I'd be probably happier and less
I
stressed if
I
I
think
would.
there needs to be some rules and regulations around the portal. There used to be a time where when you transferred, you had to sit out a certain period of time before you could be
It was a
considered
full
active,
school year, which I never agreed with that. I thought that
right?
was,
That's a little extensive, but
I
there has
think
to be a time where you have to sit out and say, okay, this is your not suspension period, but this is your um, transfer portal, whatever you want to call it, whatever term you want to throw on
here,
it, just to make sure that
here's
kids just don't transfer in the middle of like seasons. Like I feel like the transfer portal, they can transfer in the middle of seasons now too.
the biggest thing is like the transfer. They need to change for both football and probably for all the sports in college, like transfer portal. They need to be very realistic about when the portal opens. Not during the middle of the NCAA tournament, not during the middle of fucking bowl season. I think that shit's bullshit. It should be done once the final game of college football is played, which is the national championship game. The next day, the portal opens.
Yeah, because there was that one kid that entered the transfer portal 15 minutes after his team lost in the Elite Eight or something like that. He like
Yes.
answered entered. I'm like, that's crazy. Like you're not even
Because,
out of the
yeah,
locker room in 15 minutes. Like you're doing that
because
stuff while you're in the locker room.
the portal date for basketball is during the middle of the fucking tournament. So hence, you have these coaches that have a kid who might be entering the transfer portal, who's a bench player, doesn't get a lot of minutes, to hey, there's some kids in the portal we want to go after, but we can't because or we're not going to be able to fully do what we want to because we're still in the middle of March Madness. Where other schools that are out of it already can be full-fledged into going for these kids. So it's a crapshoot in regards to that. So the timing frame has to be done. There has to be a time. The time periods to enter the portal, I think, should be shortened. Um, don't give it like I'm just exaggerating. Don't give it like 4 weeks. Give it like the portal opens Monday, April 1st. You have 10 fucking days to decide if you're going into the portal. If you can't make up your mind in 10 days, then I don't know what the fuck's wrong. You should have 10, 12 days max to figure out if you're going to enter the portal or go back to that college. The other issue too is there should be a limit of how many times you can transfer. I think that's the biggest issue because I'm going to give you an example.
But like Haley Van Lith, she's transferred 3 times or
There's
twice. Sorry.
there is one of the kids from Illinois that we brought in from the portal last year. Freshman year, Louisville. Sophomore year, another school. Junior year, Illinois. Senior year is going to play somewhere else. He's literally going to be at 4 colleges in his college career. Like that is ridiculous.
Yeah,
You
those
should
are the
be
kids that
able
are
to,
in it for the money and not they're getting more NIL money from other schools and they're just chasing the money. Um,
and
but
that's
like you said,
that's
that's a conversation for another day.
and that is unfortunate. I just think with the NI with the transfer just for the transfer portal, you should be only allowed to transfer twice, and that's it. Like you play your first 2 years at a school, you transfer and then you transfer again, or you play your freshman year, you transfer. Say you go from like Duke and you transfer to Kentucky, shit isn't going right for you at Kentucky. You then transfer to the rival Louisville. That's it. You're playing your junior and senior year at fucking Louisville. You're not transferring again. Like there has to be a limit of how many times you can transfer because this transferring every year shit is ridiculous.
Yeah. And like Haley Van Lith, like nothing personal against her, but I feel like she was title chasing. She was chasing the next team that she felt like could get to the championship game.
100%. Title
Like
and money.
that's
Yep.
like that was
And
that was her. Like,
she's a good player,
yeah,
but
nothing
she,
against her as a
you know,
player.
but here's the other thing too is the NCAA has set up the players and the coaches and the universities for failure. Look at there's a they were talking about this the other day. One of the high school kids is one of the top high school kids in the country is going to BYU. When do you ever see a top high school kid go to BYU? Like that's unheard of. But it's all about the money, NIL.
Hmm.
BYU is also, I think, was able to pull two really good portal transfers from high-end schools, good players, averaging 14, 15 points a game. Go into BYU. I might be off on the high school kid, but I think it was a high school kid that is going to BYU. I'll have to check the rankings on ESPN and whatnot. But it was about BYU because they said they have spent $8 million in NIL money for three players to come to BYU.
Wow, that's
That's why,
crazy.
when they said about the NIL and the transfer portal, how they thought it was going to be one-sided where all the big colleges were going to get all the players. No, I initially thought that and I was like, oh, wait a minute. There's some there's some colleges that are like Division 1 that kind of have some fucking wealthy boosters. Like there's some campuses that are fucking beautiful. They might not have had the greatest sports in football or basketball, but they have beautiful campuses and have money. And those college campuses are spending the money and they're getting these
Hmm.
players to come there. So speaking of that too, like Tammy's one good friend, um her kid, she has two sons that played. Her one son plays for Drexel. His first 3 years, he played at Drexel. His third year, he kind of like he was the leading scorer, starter, all that jazz. He wanted to stay in the school because he believed because he had a lot of teammates that entered the portal and left. He actually decided after his junior year that he entered the portal. He had offers from Kansas, offers from Louisville, offers from West Virginia, a couple other ACC schools, I think two Big Ten schools. He ultimately picked he's going to Florida State. So he'll be playing for Florida State his senior year.
Hmm.
And he's good. He's a good player. He's like 6'6", 6'7", or something like that. I watched a couple of his games because I had the ESPN Plus with my Disney bundle. So, you get a lot of the other um, conferences on
Yeah.
ESPN Plus. So I watched about probably six of his games, seven maybe, on ESPN. He's good. I definitely, I could critique him, but he's a really good player. So kudos to him for kind of jump. I don't know if he has any NIL stuff. I didn't ask about that, but he entered the portal and he's going to Florida State, so he'll be playing in the ACC. So I'm gonna try to watch as many Florida State games next year, and root him on. So kudos to him and her friend, and her friend and his other brother. They're moving to Florida to support him. So they're moving to Tallahassee somewhere. They're actually moving in July, get
Crazy.
him set up for the college year, and they're moving down. They're moving down as well. So
Nice.
so it's kind of cool. Definitely a cool thing. But yeah, there's NCAA at times gets in front of themselves. They're their own worst enemy. So, they forever like one good step they do, they have like 10 bad steps. So
Hmm.
it's like what we need to like really get a good governing body within NCAA for all their sports to get this to where it really needs to be, honestly. But
Yep. Agreed. No doubt about it. And we'll
yeah,
see if that day ever comes. I don't know if it will.
yeah. Yeah, I'm actually, speaking of books, backtrack a bit, I bought Paige Soraya. She just released her book.
Oh.
So I pre-ordered a autographed version of it. Got it right here.
Ooh.
Got it right here. Boom, plug in her book. I'm gonna start reading it tomorrow. Or probably today, maybe. It depends how much stuff I get done today. Kind of just sit down. I've been, I read comics, but I haven't been really reading a lot of comics either because I just kind of feel like, to sit back and read a comic and it kind of relaxes me, gets me in a different zone. Same with like reading books and stuff like that, does the same thing. I'm trying to also get back and just kind of, I don't want to say it's a Zen thing, but it's kind of like a calming thing, just to
Yeah.
unwind from all the craziness in the world and kind of just, you know, read something, read a book,
Mm-hmm.
a
Oh, I
little
got you.
different. But yeah, I'm
Yep.
gonna start reading her book. I've read some reviews and people said it's a good read, so
Yeah, I'd
I'm
be
looking
interested
forward
to
to it.
hear. I'd be interested to hear what she says in her book
Yeah.
about just her experience. So,
Yeah, I already opened the book and there's like in the middle of the book they have like always like the picture section. There's like a bunch of pages with pictures and all that. So it was cool, weird history seeing her as a teenager and her family as a big wrestling family too, and seeing like her family back in the day and their wrestling gear and all that stuff. So interesting aspect. Definitely interesting. So like I said, I'm looking forward to reading it. 100%. But
uh, yes. So I just learned another fun fact. What word is spelled wrong in the dictionary?
I don't
Incorrectly. My son's got jokes this morning. Technically, it's
he,
now the afternoon.
he is, yeah, it's past 12. Yeah, he's full of jokes today, huh?
Yeah, full of jokes. All right. Aye, aye, aye. Well, I think that is a good spot to end our podcast today,
Yeah, yeah,
talking about Zen moments and
yeah,
books. So,
absolutely.
well, we
So
want to
yes,
thank.
fans, yeah, real quick. Next weekend is WrestleMania weekend. We'll be live on YouTube. Hit us up. Follow us, watch, drop some comments. We'll be live Saturday and Sunday with these jabronis. Maybe we'll have some extra special guests on the show. Who the hell knows? We'll show up, but we will be live. All right, Jeremy, take it away. Okay.
All right. Well, fans, thanks for watching. We appreciate it. Like, comment, subscribe to our channel. It'd be awesome to get some more subscribers and some more people interacting with this. As Joe said, we will be live next weekend for day 1 and day 2 of WrestleMania. It'll be a fun-filled event, and we'll probably make fun of a lot of the matches because I'm sure there'll be lots of things to make fun of.
Of course.
Hopefully, things to cheer for. But as always, we hope that you finished with us.
Yeah.